Friends, I talk about it all the time. Fairness, honor, accountability, loyalty, those are things that are kind of my moral compass. They're also things that would probably prohibit me from ever working in any type of a government job, especially not one at the federal government level. First, guys, please go check out my friends Gideon Optics. These guys make amazing optics. If you're looking for something that you can either put on a pistol or an AR-15 or any kind, heck, if you want a rifle and reach out there, you guys know the discount code FTATF, you'll get 10% off. Again, go to GideonOptics.com, FTATF, receive 10% off. 2 days ago, a current Secret Service sniper, counter sniper, sent a letter to everybody within the Secret Service. The Secret Service very quickly deleted any proof of that letter, but guess what? We actually have the letter here. I'm going to read you that letter in a second, but first I want you to see this video of a former Secret Service agent who was describing everything that we've been talking about, and I think he starts to point a finger more directly at that top-level leadership within the Secret Service.
Real Clear Politics has gotten a copy of a memo that's circulating with a lot of Secret Service people. It sounds like it's from a current counter sniper inside the organization, and they say there's going to, they predict there's going to be another assassination attempt, given the fact that now everybody knows that there are lapses in security. They say it could happen before September. I know you have seen that particular memo. You think you know who it's from.
Yep.
Essentially what they're calling for is they got to clean house at the top of the Secret Service.
Well, and that's exactly right. I've read that memo, or at least the memo that was published, throughout the press yesterday. And they're absolutely right. The Secret Service needs a house cleaning, right? The director of the Secret Service did not put on anywhere near the performance that she should have 2 weeks ago. And she passed the baton to these folks, to include the acting director and the bench that's sitting behind them. These are all legacy leaders. They all have to go. They're the ones that are more culpable and responsible for setting up the tone and the attitudes which led to what happened operationally 3 weeks ago. Not only do they need to get rid of the folks that were on the ground that were directly responsible for what happened here 3 weeks ago, but the leadership has to go as well.
Right now, there's so much finger pointing going on as well, not only inside the Secret Service, but also the Secret Service, the local cops, the state cops. It's just a mess.
So clearly there's a problem, and everybody sees it. It's like most corporations can operate with a little bit of garbage towards the top and a jerk towards the top, and usually those people surround themselves with the same kind of garbage. But in the private sector, most jobs, you have a certain level of accountability, so you can only get away with that for so long. Federal government is different. You don't lose your job. You don't get fired, you get demoted. Every time and it may be something serious like sexual harassment. Every time you hear about somebody getting disciplined, especially at the federal government level, it's a lateral move. There's no pay cut. They get less responsibility, and they get to ride it out until they start sucking off of their pension and the American people, of course. There's never a demotion. There's never a reduction in pay, and there's always a reduction in responsibility. So you screw up, you do less, you get paid the same or more, and nothing ever happens to you. Let me read that letter to you because it's very eye-opening, and this should be a major concern to the American people. While I read this letter, I want you to be thinking in the back of your mind, this is an organization that's supposed to be being touted as the tip of the spear, one of the greatest defensive units out there as far as protecting some of the highest level people that might meet and face the most strenuous and well thought out attacks against them. These people don't protect us. Remember while you're listening to this that we are responsible for our own safety. Yet these people are supposed to be the best of the best, and this is the best they can do, and this is their leadership. This is frightening to me. This memo was sent out Monday, and it goes to undisclosed all. It starts out, thank you for the backing and support. I'm not stopping until 5 high-level supervisors, one down, are either fired or removed from their current positions. Now, he's specifically stating that 5 of these, and everybody knows who these 5 are. Remember, this is addressed within the Secret Service organization. This is not a media post. This just was leaked out to the media. So people know who these 5 high-level, one down are. This agency needs to change. If not now, when? The next assassination attempt in 30 days? Because we all should expect another attempt to happen before November. We've exposed our inability to protect our leaders due to our leadership. The technicians who worked on 7/13/24 in Butler, Pennsylvania did their job with their hands tied. Secret Service supervisors knew better. And the foot soldiers working made the best of a bad situation that resulted in a civilian death and a near miss of the protectee and our technician shooting and killing the suspect. I know many look at the counter sniper team as guys who sit on the roof and don't do much, but our responsibility, our mission is not about protecting an empty White House located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It's about protecting and stopping another JFK-style assassination in whatever city that may be. Sadly, we have fallen short for years. We just got lucky and looked good doing it. I don't know about that. I have conveyed these thoughts to not only supervisors, to include the current captain within counter snipers, but those responsible for training, only to be brushed off as if those with less experience somehow knew more than me. The team I was once proud to be a part of is something I have to now somehow hide as I move into my next career. Obviously, this guy's leaving. Who wants to hire a United States Secret Service counter sniper guy who failed? That's the public perception I'm now faced with. The United States Secret Service counter sniper team is a stain I will never be able to cleanse. Some of us take our job and responsibility seriously, deadly serious. I may be overzealous, but after 7 years in the Marine Corps as an NCO and 20 plus years on the United States Secret Service counter sniper team, failure is not an option, and on 7/13/24, we failed. Not because of commitment of sense of direction, but because our supervisors, aka leadership, boy, that's a loose use of that term, knew better and thought our concerns were less than important. The motto of the United States Secret Service, cover your ass. And every supervisor is doing it right now. That's a shot across the bow. That is a really good description of a person who has voiced their concern. You can sense the frustration in his tone in the entire letter. Because this guy clearly, this was not his first time saying this is not right. You know, the Secret Service sniper teams, counter sniper teams, there was a report that went out and several publications carried it. I'm not saying the media was completely truthful whenever they put this out, but several of them reported that the reason why a lot of counter sniper teams aren't fully staffed at the Trump rallies and elsewhere is that if it requires a flight, in other words, if the subject, the protectee, is outside of a driving area, like if they can't drive from Washington, D.C., they simply don't send anybody. Now, obviously, there were counter sniper teams here in Butler, Pennsylvania, but not fully staffed because they had allegedly counter sniper teams in the AGR building behind crooks. And that's who they threw under the bus yesterday. The acting Secret Service director immediately threw all these Pennsylvania local people, whether it be local or state, threw them all under the bus. Those are the people that would normally have been staffed by Secret Service counter snipers, and they were not. Now, some people are immediately, and if you know the top brass of the Secret Service are going to certainly say this, oh, he's a disgruntled worker. He's just a guy that got passed over for a job, likely got passed over for a DEI hire. He did mention in here that people with less experience than him blew him off. So you can bet it's probably the likes of the Betty Crockers and those folks. Remember, they were saying that the Secret Service sent out their forward team days before. Well, I showed you that video a couple of weeks ago that it was Betty Crocker, the one who couldn't reholster her gun when Trump got shot. It was Betty Crocker that was the lead person on that forward team going out there to set up and make recommendations for the security that day. So likely Betty Crocker is going to get rolled right back into this again. So I'm sure that's what he meant. But this guy clearly, yeah, he's probably disgruntled because he's probably seen things that are not being addressed, that are putting people at risk. And the same thing I said yesterday, that they've just gotten lucky all these years, this guy says the exact same thing. That the only reason why they probably haven't had other deaths or near deaths like Trump is because they simply got lucky. People believe the hype of the Secret Service. They believed that these people were impenetrable and that you were not going to be able to get to those protectees. Now, our foreign adversaries are looking at this going, a 20-year-old hippie did it. This dude fixes meals for old people in an old folks home, and he damn near took out the future president of the United States and a former president. What are we doing? Why are we wasting our time lobbing rockets over in the Middle East? Let's go to America. The southern border's open anyway. So look for additional attempts against Trump. I don't think they really want to rub out Kamala or anybody else simply because they're getting their way with them. The border's open. They're giving China everything they want. I mean, we're giving all our money away to every other country. So why would anybody really want to take out anybody on that side? Trump, in my opinion, because he wants to put a stop to all this mess and garbage out there and push back on these countries that seek to do us harm, he's the one in real danger right here. And that's who this counter sniper agent is talking about. He's talking about Donald Trump. Let me explain something to you when you want to talk about disgruntled workers. I think disgruntled workers get a bad rap sometimes. Now, I've had disgruntled workers who got fired for doing stupid things that talk about other stuff and they make up lies. Of course, you're always going to have that element in there. But whenever you have disgruntled workers speaking out, even if they've done something wrong, a lot of times they are still accurately calling out the things that were done incorrectly by managers and supervisors above them. Let me pose this to you. Let's say, and boy, I'm going to use this I'm going to get a lot of blowback on this, but let's use Taco Bell as an incident. If there are multiple reports from people who are either cleaning up at Taco Bell's or fixing the food in the back of roaches being everywhere, roaches infesting everything, the groceries, roaches being in food sometimes. If you're starting to get people speaking out about that, and then you get a statement from upper management that says there are no roaches in our Taco Bells, these are just people speaking out and they're mad because they got passed over for promotions, who are you going to believe? I'm not saying the person who was fixing the burrito supreme in the back is the smartest guy in the world. And I'm not saying they're probably the most believable person in the world. But if I'm going to take the person responsible for making the organization look right and for being responsible for covering up anything that's going to cost them business, I'm not taking that person's word for anything. Very little of anything. I'm more likely to take that person's word who's back there spitting in the burrito supremes. He's probably got firsthand knowledge and he doesn't have a vested interest in that organization. This is a counter sniper who has a very tested record. His past looks really good to me. So he ain't the guy spitting in the burrito supreme. So I'm way more likely to take his word than I am for this guy with the really bad haircut. And trust me, guys, I'm the king of the bad haircuts, right? So I can talk about, that's a bad haircut, right? I can talk about other people's hair, right? You know how people say that as long as you're part of that group, you can speak poorly about them? I'm part of the bad haircut group. And I'm saying this guy has a really bad haircut. And this guy is also a really bad liar because he sat there and he lied. And he is one of the 5 that needs to be let go and changed, or else that culture in the Secret Service that almost got Donald Trump killed is not going to change. You will not see an effective change. Obviously, this guy's already not terminated anybody, and they have no intention to, because it's the federal government and you can screw up all you want. Anybody that truly screwed up is going to get a lateral move. And you want to know another reason why probably this guy with the bad haircut is not terminating people? Because those under him know what he's done wrong. He is more likely to be responsible for the security in Butler, Pennsylvania than Cheetah was. Because Cheetah likely did not make any real decisions. Let's be honest here. She's at the very tippy top. She didn't know anything about the security at Donald Trump's rally. Let's be honest about this. This guy Rowe is way more likely to be the one who set everything up, denied additional assistance, and said, that's good enough, than Cheetah was. So this guy is more likely the one who put Donald Trump's life in danger. And those under him know that. He can't fire them. If he fires them, what are they going to do? Whistleblower. Now they're going to say, Roe's the one that told me I could do this. So Roe can't fire anybody below him because they're immediately going to speak out against him and say, that's the guy that told me I could do that. That's how this works. I will never believe the head of any federal agency over a person who's blowing the whistle on them. And you want to know another thing about this whistleblower? And this is something that really pisses me off. This guy, the whistleblower, because he is calling out truth and calling out the bad guys and saying, this is what's going on. If we don't change it, somebody else is going to die. The pitiful thing is, his job is more at risk than anybody else who screwed up and got Corey killed and almost got Donald Trump killed.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's so horrible.